Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 224. Hope you're awesome as always. I really do. Can I ask you a question? Yes, I'm jumping into a rant straight away. But listen, is it just me? But I've been contacted by so many people at all different levels of the game. And guess what? It seems like it's going a bit crazy out there. I don't know if it's planetary alignments or what's going on with the world in politics. I've got no clue. But people seem to be jumping up and down and getting a little bit stressed, overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on. But if you're resonating to this, then listen, right? When you're feeling those moments of pain, understand that if we keep pressing pain, then there's only one thing that can happen. Yeah, that wound, that pain increases because the pain is either going back to the past, you understand, and it's remembering times in your life where there was a person, a place, or a thing that affected you, that caused you that pain, created that situation, and then your memory or your brain locked onto it and repeats that pattern. So when you start to understand that, that becomes the first step. And it becomes the first step for many different things because it's your moment then to do one thing. Listen carefully, right? This one thing is about expansion. Understand that every time you're feeling the fear, every time something goes wrong, I want you to understand that's like the unconscious mind pushing on you to expand. Because it's either your focus is on something it's not shouldn't be. It's either you're around the wrong people, you're putting the wrong things into your brain. Basically, your neurology, the mind muscle, is being fired, activated, pumped in the wrong direction. So if you're thinking about something that happened years ago, or you're worried about the situation that's happening right now, understand that's simply because of everything that happened to you in the past, the decisions that you made that led you up to having the experience you are now. So what does expansion mean? Well, expansion means if you looked at your business from a high-level place, right? If you looked at your life from a different perspective, if you looked at your life without emotion, I know for a fact if you told yourself the truth, there's so many gaps that you have to fill in, right? So if lead generation isn't coming in for you right now, well, guess what? Are you doing everything that's needed to get lead generation? And you might be going, yeah, Andy, I'm doing everything that everybody else says. Okay. But if you looked at your business and you systematized it and you literally created the flow right from start to finish, I know that there's going to be gaps in there, right? I also know that besides the actual business side, we can look at your branding, we can look at all that stuff, but then we got to look at you. Right? And if we're only able to focus on a handful of things, then the things that we're focusing on are going to become our dominant feelings. And if the dominant feelings are not what we want, well, is it any wonder why you are where you are? Just making sense? Yeah, I know I've jumped into a crazy rant at the start, but I really hope this is helping because it doesn't matter what level of the game you're at. You could be here right now earning $5,000 a month, looking for 10. You could be earning $100,000 a month, looking for 200. You could be earning $500,000 a month and looking for more, right? Or helping or serving. It's not just about money. But the truth is, we have to scale your level of thinking. We have to scale what's on autopilot. So you're able to handle anything that comes to you, no matter what how intense the pressure is. And it doesn't matter if you're doing a business merger or you just have an idea in your head and you need to get it out to the world. We can look at all your branding, we look at all that stuff, but the next stage is to develop and design this muscle that's in your head. Because think about it this way. If you are a shop assistant, nothing wrong with that, But if you are and you're looking at getting more income, then your model of the world, it's very, very small around money, right? Your beliefs around what are possible are very small. You're limiting yourself. You'd probably think about getting a second job or taking on more hours to earn more money. But if you look at someone who's already massively successful, yes, monetary successful, many different types of success, right? But let's just talk about money at the moment. Then you got to understand that that person sees the world in an extremely different way. Their expectations, their focus, their belief systems, what they are able to accomplish from a creative idea. Well, guess what? That's how we start to scale your thinking, because if you're earning 7 figures, then you're thinking like 7 figures, okay? That means we're automating the business. It means we're systematizing it. It means we're understanding what specific role you want to play in it, and so we can get you into that correct position of your strengths. And it doesn't matter what level of the game. The point is we need to fine-tune your thinking. And when we're able to do this, people think that coaching, I'm going a little bit rant about coaching because most coaches are full of shit and they don't know what they're talking about, right? But I've done this for 16 years with tens of thousands of clients and the highest in the world, the best in the world. And I'm able to help anyone from any level. And the reason is this. Coaching's just taught, right? There's really this one way. It's what psychologists work on. It's what therapists work on. It's what the normal coach works on. And it's a massive mistake. They only work on resetting the past or clearing the past, right? Trying to gain a different perspective over old scenarios, right? Traumas and beliefs or whatever. Root causes, all of that stuff. But all of that's good. But that's one area of what I focus on. But the opposite area is what is completely not known. It's completely not focused on because people don't know how to fine-tune and tweak memories. They don't know how to reset nervous systems so you automatically respond a different way. Because all of this directly affects your performance in your business. And what I'm world-renowned at is just that, right? Performance, right? World-class performance. So what we've got to do, whether I put people on TV sets, we've done a bit an internet marketing launch, and they've just suddenly gone from 100 grand to multi-millions, whether it's putting an athlete into a ring, or whether it's putting someone on a TV set in the past, or whether it's actually deleting trauma. The thing is, when you start thinking about the future, if we haven't tuned your nervous system or the mind muscles or the neurology the correct way, then what it happens is you start repeating the past. You start activating that fear response. Because what we want to be able to go into on that stage, closing that deal, right? Whatever it is, we want you to be in such a flow state that your nervous system or your body, your neurology, all of this stuff, right? You are absolutely used to performing that way. I learned this like 16 years ago in Australia, coming up to 17 years. God, it goes fast, man, doesn't it? And what it was is I came back from my first sale ever, right? I became the top performer in Australia and New Zealand back in the day. And I came back from my first tour, and I didn't sell it, right? And my manager, Peter, said, right, what up, Peter? Again, one day you might come on the podcast, buddy. If you know Peter, by the way, Peter said, right, dude, hit me up, right? And I came back to him and said, well, I didn't get it. I tried everything. That was my first one. And he gives it, what? I said, that was just my first one. He gives it, what's that got to do with anything? You should have trained it in your brain so much, hundreds and hundreds of times, that you just stepped out there and it was just normal. Do you see the difference? Because when we can perform like that, it changes the game. I remember not so long ago, a couple of years ago, I was speaking in New York, and I hadn't actually spoken in a few years. And just that choice. I love speaking. If you've got speaking gigs out there and they're awesome, connect with me. I also work with teams, all the rest of it, right? And I love it because I kick ass. And the reason is I trained my brain. So I went on stage, I presented all day on my own to over 600 people. And guess what? It was a blast. But I hadn't been on stage in a few years, probably like 3 and maybe 4. And the truth is, I was able to do that because I knew how to make my nervous system calm. So I could then go into flow. So my question is, imagine if you could do that in every area of your business and life. Do you think that might be what we call high performance? Do you think that's what I call world-class performance? Yeah. And the truth is, there's so many people out there in the world that are claiming they know how to do this, and they just don't. They just don't, right? And you can see all the testimonials who've worked with me, the best in the world, right? So I'm able to show you from any level how to get control of your mind so you can do this for the rest of your life. And that's the whole point. I just realized I went on a crazy rant, and I'm sorry, but hopefully that made some sense. I was sitting there meditating on the roof deck this morning, looking out, and it's such a beautiful view. Such a beautiful view. And it just makes you so grateful. And these ideas started to pop into my head, and as the ideas popped into my head, I had to share them, you know? But hey, you know me by now if you're a regular listener. And if you're not a regular listener, then welcome. Always nice to have a new Mindset by Design crew member. What we're here on about a Mindset by Design is about building new behaviors, new ways of thinking, feeling, and acting to scale your business, scale who you are, so you can truly, truly create world-lasting change. And guess what? We do that through NLP, which I'm a world-class expert at, neuro-retraining, which are all of my own systems, neuroscience, gamification, behavioral psychology, even quantum physics and a sprinkle of spirituality, whatever works for you to be able to create true world-class change. And I do it for the highest level people. And if you're not a high-level person and you're like, Andy, is this for me? Yeah, it's for you. Because the truth is, doesn't matter what level of the game is, we start building that mind muscle, we start training you to think in the correct way, then guess what? You scale your business very, very fast. And you might be sitting there right now going, I've just got an idea, I want to get going. That's good. Then you're in the right place, right? You might be absolutely kicking ass right now and want to make sure that consistency keeps going. Then beautiful. You're in the right place. And I want you to use this podcast a little bit differently from the others because there's such in-depth content. I've had so many people over the years put jigsaw puzzle piece these episodes together, and they made their own coaching system, right? And it's changed their life. So I want you to use it like that. Use it as a library. So scroll back through, find out what works for you, and just jump onto that episode. I've just recorded also about 12 different episodes with world-class guests that I'm starting to roll out. Maybe once a month I'll put these episodes out, maybe more. But they're pretty badass, and I know you will love them. So what's this episode about? Well, I was working out what I wanted to record for you today. And I was really going through, do I want to record a new topic? Do I want to pull out some 8-figure thinker training? Do I want to put out some new stuff that I'm putting out? Do I want to put a guest on? And you know what? I found this awesome little 30-minute training that I did, I think it was a few years ago now. And it's pretty cool. And it goes into a lot of the foundations because in the early days of the podcast, I spoke a lot about real technical stuff. And people loved it, you know? Now, that's episode probably 1 to 100. I went through all those. And I started to go off in a different way because people didn't want to hear the same things. And I wanted to give the regular listeners, new content constantly. And they don't want to keep talking about the same stuff. So if you can find 0 to 100, then definitely listen to those early episodes. But this episode today, we're talking about some basics. We're talking about the filter system, the RAS, the reticular activating system. We're talking about the levels of focus. I'm introducing my 9 business balances. I'm going to teach you about state driving and my systems I've created around that. We're going to teach you about comfort zones. We're going to teach you about, getting let down and how to rebound. And if that sounds good, then this episode's going to be a goodie for you. Happy? Good. Hope you are. So I just want to have a little chat with you. I just want to have a little chat with you. Because guess what? We're in March already, which is absolute madness in itself. The year's pumping along. And if we don't sprint, then the thing is, we're going to get left behind and the year's going to repeat, or we're not going to live to our full potential. And so I recognize this. And what I've created is something pretty damn cool. It's unique. It's very special. It's definitely not for everybody. It's only for people who are driven, and it's only for people who are ready to actually do something with their life. Because honestly, I don't want to talk to you if you're not. You can keep listening to the podcast, and I love that. There's other courses, and I'm bringing out something called the World-Class Performer, and it's cool MP3s and stuff, and it's going to be launched in the next week or so. So please watch that. But if you want something special, if you truly like both feet in, let's go after this, and you're obsessed with making this year the best that you've ever had, and it doesn't matter what level of the game, but you're obsessed with it, then you need to chat with me, because for the simple fact I've created something special. And it's something called Unlock Your Performance, right? To unlock your performance sessions. And do you know what? I take on maybe 2 people a month around these. I bring on 1 or 2 coaching clients a month, and that's it. I'm building other things to help the mass audience. But if you're in finance, if you're in real estate, if you're in internet marketing, if you're online in any way, or even if you're not online, but you're in that category, then you need to connect with me, because this is a very special thing. Everyone is different, yet the process I'm going to take you through, well, guess what? It's pretty much the same. These are the same techniques I've taught to my clients who created 7, 8, 9+ figure businesses. It's the best in the world in internet marketing, trading, hedge funds. They've won world champions or even performed on TV in Hollywood, you know? So when we get on the call with me, you will get straight to the point and discover exactly what you need to accelerate and create flow as this world-class performer. So we're also going to look at what's creating those sabotage, but let's look, right? Because what we do together in 30 minutes is we work a few things out. And the first thing we're going to look at is looking at what unconscious or automatic patterns are really holding you back from creating that true performance. Or if you've dipped in performance, what the things are that we need to change to blast forwards, right? We're going to look at what those sabotage patterns are, which are unconscious and automatic. I'm going to show you a concept that I've worked out from working with the best in the world, okay? And guess what? We're going to help you unlock that vision and going to focus on the results that you get. And these are the exact same systems that I've taught to the best in the world. And guess what? I'm going to give it to you on a silver platter. And yeah, for now, it's for free, okay? So if you've ever wanted to connect with me around coaching or looking at this experience, then guess what? It's time to step up. It's time to do something different. And if you feel you resonate with this, then click on the link. You can go to the website mindsetbydesign.co and you click on coaching and apply to see if you qualify. And if you do qualify, then hey, we'll probably be meeting. And right now I'm doing these in person. That's it, right? There'll be a team around this very soon as we start to grow the next stage of the business. But right now, hey, I'm going to be still doing as many as I can in person. But I make sure that whatever you fill in is accurate, because I've had some people who are just clicking buttons and filling stuff in and then don't turn up for appointments. If that's you, don't waste your own time. Don't fill it in. And if you don't qualify, that's okay. I've got some other cool stuff coming up. This is high end. This is go after this. And I do have some nice discount packages going on right now. So yeah, I'm bringing on X amount of clients. I love coaching. I really do. So if that resonates with you, hit that show notes right now, even before the episode. And yeah, let's connect very, very soon. But let's talk about life balance. Let's talk about 9 business balances. So See, I wish I'd have known about that because I'd have pulled it up. But let's talk about 9 business balances and really start to understand what areas of your life that you can truly start to laser focus in, okay? Because, thank you, Christy. I'll get to that in a second. Lovely. Beautiful. Thanks for the feedback. So, laser focus, you've got to understand something about the filter system. When you start to understand about your brain's filter system called the reticular activating system, it works just like Gmail, meaning it allows things in and gets rid of some other stuff, and what you see in your inbox is what your filter does in your brain. And this is constantly changing reality for you. We're taking in over 2 million bits of information through our 5 senses every second. So we're constantly being flooded with this information. Now, what the heck does that mean? It means that we can truly only focus on a handful of things. That's it. So when we start looking at life, guess how many areas of life that there really is that you're trying to deal with and handle on a daily basis? It's a lot, right? It's a lot. Should get you to put your hand up or something, but you get the idea. It's a lot. So what I broke it down into is 9 business balances, and I will do this. Maybe I do this a full lesson over this another time. But I just want you to really start, just start understanding these different areas of life. So I'm going to pull up a thing so I can go through it all with you. But when you start understanding that the work you is just the work you, okay? So there's other areas of high performance that we want to be dealing with. We want to be dealing with the body, right? If your nutrition isn't on, then nothing's going to be on. Your brain function isn't going to be on. We've got the self, so that's about understanding yourself through feelings and passion and understanding your values. We've got your environments, we've got spiritual, we've got relationships, we've got friendships, we've got income streams. We've got all of these things that are all areas of different areas of your life. So when you start to understand this, it's brilliant, because what we start enabling ourselves to do is really get clear specifically on the areas that are going to create the biggest ripple effect or biggest influence through our business and life. Because understand, we can't put 100% energy into all of those things. We can't. And that's what I'm going to go into in a second, Christy. We can't, right? Well, you can, but all of them are going to be half-assed. All of them are going to suck, and you're not going to perform at your best in any of them, right? So what we've got to first of all do is, from these 9 business balances, which if you ask me questions after, I can give you these 9 business balances. But it sort of becomes a logical decision of the direction you want to go, right? So once you've understood those 9 business balances and you've worked out what areas that maybe it is spiritual, if I focus the next 4 weeks purely on spiritual, is that going to create a ripple effect through the rest of my business or life? Maybe, maybe not, right? Or if you're choosing relationship, maybe that's the one that's causing the biggest headache right now for you. So you have a choice. You either put energy into it or you don't. You either put energy to go further down a path that you want, or you put your energy somewhere else. It becomes that simple, right? So let's talk about your question, Christy. So you say, Christy, I seem to sabotage myself. Just 5 more minutes of sleep, scheduling things too close together. Okay, I get that. So let's think about that, and why are you doing that? Well, why are you doing this? Rushing around to keep everybody else happy. Right. There you go, right? So what happens is you're constantly looking for external validation to make yourself feel good. Do you understand? To give yourself self-worth, to give yourself validity. Is that even a word? No. But you get what I mean, right? To give yourself self-respect. To give yourself pride. Not from ego, but from knowing that you've done your best, right? That's the only place that this self-worth must come from. But what's happened with you over time is you've developed the pattern to be a people pleaser, right? So what that means is you're gaining love and connection, which is one of your human needs. And if you don't know about those human needs, listen to the podcast I put out yesterday. So when you start to understand these 6 human needs and what's been happening with you is you've been getting love and connection from everybody outside of you. So until that person says, well done, you don't feel valued. Okay? So that is just a pattern that you've built up. So always looking for somebody outside of you to give you validation for what you feel or think inside of you. So what's happening there, Christy, is you're sabotaging yourself because really it doesn't feel congruent. It doesn't feel truth. It doesn't feel right. So what's happening is you're overwhelmed right now with all the things that are going on in your life, and you're really wanting to make sure that you move forwards. So by sabotaging yourself just 5 minutes extra in bed, which means then it's going to put you an extra 10-20 minutes probably over the appointment. So these things, understand before you do them, understand the feeling that's driving. You understand this stuff now. The feeling that's driving you to make that decision is really fear. It's fear that their opinion is more important than yours. It's fear that those people are better than you. So you always constantly looking up to them, go, oh, am I worthy? Am I worthy? Am I worthy? Right? So that's why you start sabotaging yourself. And that's why you're rushing around to keep everybody else happy. Step 1. Does that make sense? Jen. Right. So, Christy, so I should add self-validation to my affirmations in the morning? Damn right you should. Because if we only have so much time, effort, and energy, and we can never get that back, then why would you be wasting it on someone else's opinion but yourself? It doesn't make sense. Now, does that mean you're not supposed to listen to other people? No, of course you're supposed to listen to other people. But ultimately, the way their opinion makes you feel is going to affect your decision. It's going to affect your beliefs. It's going to affect your motivation. It's also going to affect that sabotage pattern, right? It's going to keep that pattern of you being late and messing around and rushing and rushing and rushing. Because there's also parts of you, Christy, that's actually self-punishing. That's a whole different conversation, but that's what's going on. You know, it's like hitting yourself. Ow, 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 right? That's the same thing. So every time you repeat this resistance, every time you repeat this pain, every time you sabotage, understand really what you're doing is you're giving your energy away. You're slapping yourself every time so you feel pain. And that is real self-destructive. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope so. Because if we truly understand that there is no single person on the world that's better than you, when you understand that someone who's successful down the path that you've got to has only done one thing. They've spent more time and effort and energy heading down that path than you. That's it. So does that make them better than you? No. Should you respect them for what they've done? Yes, absolutely. So Vanessa says, why seek the pain? Certainty? Yes and no, but yeah, absolutely, because we're using the 6 human needs, absolutely certainty, right? Because what we do know is that creates the same pattern. So what does that do? Yes, it creates certainty, it creates safety in what we're doing, right? So the part of that, the ego, right, is just trying to keep you safe. So what it's doing is it's learning how to keep you inside this box that you formed around what's possible. And when you try to stretch out of it, it's like push, pain, Be safe. We don't know what's out there. We don't know what's out there. Be safe. So when you start to understand this, pain is familiar. Yes, it is. Absolutely. It's certainty. And Vanessa's hit the exact term on the head. It is certainty. It's predictable. Yes, Christy. It's familiar. It feels warm. It feels comfortable. Right? But the thing about that comfortability, God, I can't speak today. That comfortability, again, I'll repeat the word. I won't even repeat the word. But when it's like a warm blanket. That's why people stay in relationships that are abusive. That's why people stay in industries that just make them feel horrid. It's not that they don't want more. It's not that you don't deserve more. It's not that you're not talented enough to get it. But what you've done is allowed yourself to make a decision in the past that you are not worthy. You don't deserve. You're not good enough. Everybody else around you is kicking ass, but maybe I can't. So when you start to look at these things, when you start to understand these things, when you start to really step out and observe what's going on, I want you to ask the question. Very simple question. And Christy, you probably need to ask yourself, and also I've probably taught you for years about the same question. But is this the old me or the new me? Is this the old me or the new me dealing with this right now, reacting this way? Make sense? What would the new me do right now about this situation? So before you want that 5 minutes, right? We're going to learn to interrupt these synapse connections, these connections, interrupt, catch, right? What thought, what feeling. And if that's done first thing in the morning, right? We reset that nervous system. You know about this stuff now, right? We reset that nervous system, and that's what we want. So then we're firing a different version of us who's going to have a different amount of self-worth. So when we set up in the morning, these morning routines, oh, by the way, I'm thinking about doing a 7-day challenge on Facebook, inside the group, of every day with me at 7 o'clock in the morning, setting your mornings up. That'd be quite cool, right? Let me know if that's a good thing, because I'll get some feedback. So let me jump on. Let me jump on to what Vanessa said. So crazy, especially with the awareness we have been in this group. Knowledge means nothing without application. Wisdom is applied knowledge. 100%. Why do you think it's like going to a college professor, right? Who's trying to learn business from them, but they have ever, right? We might do it at 8 for you, or 9 for you, or 10 for you, Christy, or you can watch the replay. It's okay. But when it means nothing, yeah. So applied knowledge, it means nothing without action. It's like I was saying, it's like a college professor teaching business who's never owned a business. But I'll tell you something, there's probably quite a few out there. If you don't have the wisdom because you haven't gone through it, you don't understand. It's that simple. And how you understand someone's behavior is to go through what they've been through, right? I don't know your world. You don't know my world. And we're never going to know each other's world because each of us has such a unique version of reality. Okay? So when you start to understand that everyone is so unique as a fingerprint or a snowflake, everyone's neural nets, it's called the map is not the territory, all right? Well, everyone has a version of reality, a unique version of reality. And when we start to understand that, we can really be more forgiving. We can. Because it goes back to that statement. And I want you to really, use this statement. You're only doing the best with the tools that you have at the time. That's it. You're only doing the best with the information you have now. You're only doing the best with the beliefs that you have now. You're only doing your best. You can't do any more. It's impossible. How can you do any more than your absolute best? You can't. So then what is it? continually doing your best, right? And what does that mean? That means getting used to people outside of you being idiots, saying shit and letting you down. It's going to happen. It's going to happen more than it's not. And guess what that means? You have a decision to make in that moment about how you feel and your perspective on it. Now, we can go in there and react like we used to, the old you, right? Or we can step out, look at it a different way, and understand that the decision that we make next is going to lead you towards the future. That's it. It's like the Dalai Lama, right? I said this, maybe I said this on the podcast yesterday, or a trainer, I don't know. But understand, the Dalai Lama, do you think he gets angry sometimes? Of course he does, right? How long does he stay angry? Probably not that long. It's the difference that makes the difference. It's the details, right? So someone winning an Olympic medal, do you think that one person who wins the Olympic medal or the person who come ninth are any different? No, they're probably both absolutely brilliant. So what is the difference? The person who won was able to control their emotions, not react to the crowd or the people around them, or that person standing next to them going, you suck, I'm going to beat you, right? That's how they win, because they're able to remain in flow, present. Does that make sense? So what else can this mean? Is a great perspective changer. Yeah, beautiful. However, going through the trigger to question is something I struggle with. Yeah, well, guess what? That's because, okay, here's a beautiful thing, Vanessa. So it is, Ryu, just about aligning your conscious and unconscious mind, but that is like saying it's just about driving across the country to get somewhere, right? You're going to have all of these things around you that are going to affect you, trigger you, and interrupt and cause chaos and patterns, right? So, brilliant point, Ryu. You've obviously been listening to the podcast for sure, but it's way deeper than that. So, you asking these questions, understand, Vanessa, that what's happening is when you are reacting, you're going to probably be in a specific environment, okay? Probably work, right? It might even be the same person or the same office, or the same, definitely the same building. The challenge is what happens is on our unconscious mind is that we are becoming linked to all of these things around you. So what's happening is this is called external anchoring. So what happens is you're, even before you've gone into work, you're already future pacing in your brain that people are going to treat you this way, this is going to happen. So what happens in your brain is you start searching for that. They start to get deeply wound together, these experiences. So the office or that person is then linked to your brain of causing an emotion, or no emotion, yes, but also a certain way we say to ourselves, or a belief or attitude. So when we start to understand that, then we can start to reset those trigger points. So for you to go into work, understand this version of you that's going to react that way. Well, how's about you sit down before you go in and just spend 5 minutes resetting how you are going to react to these people? Because what this is going to do is it's going to retrain the nervous system. Sure, absolutely. It's going to retrain the nervous system to respond a different way, which is going to engage the parasympathetic nervous system. It's going to produce different chemicals, and it's going to adjust your filter to what's possible. When you do that, Vanessa, then things are going to change. In the moment right there, if you're freaking out and you can't break the anger, this is what I want you to do, okay? Yes, we spoke about accepting it, not attaching to it, right? Definitely. But I want you to come out of that environment. I want you to remove yourself from that environment. Go for a walk. What this this is going to collapse or break that anchor, those connections that are in your head with that person or environment. So when we can leave and go and reset, walk through questions, walk through perspectives, just calm ourselves down, right? And then gain a different perspective using anchoring, switch all things on. What that means is then you're going to be able to reset and go back in with a different neural net or circuit that's firing and different nervous system. So when we can start to understand these things, then what this does is going to keep you in control, Vanessa. So other people, then like Christy said before, right? She's allowing other people to make her react a certain way. These other people are well, they have their own view of the world, right? Of their opinions about what they want. But understand this. None of this shit's personal. None of it. That person who's saying that thing or treating you a certain way, what that means is that they're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, right? They're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their life, their safety. And when you start to understand the unconscious mind's always going to try and keep you safe, then it's going to do it in some crazy ass ways, okay? So guess what? That person who's causing that shit with you, they are just interested in making sure they're safe, their family's safe. And that's how I've been ripped off years ago. You know my story, right? Years ago with the resort, right? That's what ripped me off. Plain and simple. So when we can look at this a different way, that becomes fun. So what are you saying here, Vanessa? So start the mornings, envision a desired response from usual triggers. Yes, beautiful. We can work on this when we're working together privately, but absolutely, we can reset that. Find the trigger points, first of all. Write down the trigger points that are the most common. So is it a person, is it a time, is it a place or venue? And once we've got those isolated, then you're going to be consciously aware of those unconscious patterns. So once you've got that, then we can rewrite them coming from a different state. And once we can write it from a different state, then you're going to start to respond differently, right? So when triggered physically, remove yourself. Yes. No, it's not personal. Psh, it's not personal. No one cares. Everyone's just dealing with their own stuff.
Okay, crew. There we go. The end of episode 224. Listening to that, it's like a blast from the past for me. But hey, I know it will have helped you. And speaking of helping, make sure you're heading over to the show notes. There's lots of cool links in there. Make sure you join in the Facebook incubator group and all the rest of it. Got a cool audios and yeah, the world-class performers coming out. You're going to absolutely love it. And making sure while I can still do this, jump in to unlock your performance session right now. Guess what? They're available. If you've missed out on these things in the past, this is a brand new feature. You've got my explanation of what the heck's going to happen when we connect, but I know if you're amped up and ready to go after this year and you resonate with me, then you need to go and do something different now and go and see if you qualify. Remember, don't be just filling in random details if you don't qualify. But if you do qualify, let's take your game to a level that you've never experienced. That much I 100% guarantee. So, until the next time, hit those show notes. And now, well, why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.